Welcome everyone to the 39th NERPS for Education and Research on Peace and Sustainability webinar, and also the IDEC Institute seminar. NERPS is a network based at Hiroshima University that deals with the nexus between sustainability and peace. I am Leticia dos Mochangos, specially appointed associate professor at the IDEC Institute and also a core member of NERPS. Today, we are happy to be joined by Dr. Serge Kubanza. We'll talk about environmental justice, specifically on solid waste management. And before I give the floor to him, let me introduce a little bit about Dr. Serge. Dr. Serge is a PhD in Geography and Environmental Studies from the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa, and is also a sociologist, anthropologist, development planner, human geographer, system analyst, and also specialization in human and urban geography, and also environmental sustainability. He is currently a senior lecturer and coordinator of the postgraduate program at the Witwatersrand University. Welcome, Dr. Serge. And let me just share a little bit of house cleaning rules. So we will have Dr. Serge presentation for about 30 minutes or so. And after that, we are open for a Q&A session that you can unmute yourself, or also even during the presentation, make use of the Q&A box, and I can help you convey your message to Dr. Serge, or also you are free to do that. So we will have an exciting 1 hour of conversation with Dr. Serge, and please, the floor is yours. You are welcome to share your presentation with us.
Thank you so much. Just give me a few minutes while I'm sharing my presentation. Thank you so much, colleagues. I'm Dr. Kubanza, as I've been introduced by Dr. Leticia. Thank you so much for your wonderful introduction, and thank you also for inviting me to speak at your webinar series. I appreciate the invitations. I did not take it for granted. To the director and the entire team of NERPS, I thank you all. You are wonderful, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing here. So to all my friends of the Southern Africa Young Scientists Summer Program participating in this webinar, I thank you all. Your time is too precious to me, but remember this topic, it is a product of the Young Scientist Summer Programs. You are the one who helped me to develop this topic. I thank you for that. And to all my PhD students participating here, I also want to thank you. And to all our participants from around the world, thank you for your participation. I am a man of peace, and I appreciate your participation today. I hope we are going to enjoy, this exchange together. So the topic, some happy, others sad, basically explores the injustices associated with solid waste management in Congolese cities, and particularly their impact on the disadvantaged populations or group of society. So my decision actually to focus this paper on the concept of justice in the context of solid waste management stems from the observation that 1 in 2 urban dwellers is poor in the sub-Saharan African cities. Why? I don't know. We are going to discover that today. They live in dire conditions in an urban area that is characterized by poor housing, poor sanitation, poor access to waters, and other essential municipal services. They face all kinds of sort of evictions and deprivations of their rights, while their counterparts in wealthy urban neighborhoods enjoy access to these essential services. Hence, the ideas of some group of people within the same society being happy are the sad. So the purpose of this investigation is to explore and discuss the extent of environmental justice that happening in solid waste management in the city of Kinshasa and the critical factors accounting for this state of affairs. So we will also try to examine the relevant theoretical frameworks and mechanisms to attain environmental justice in sub-Saharan Africa in general and in the DRC in particular. In doing so, we can then propose alternative solutions based on the social and political and based on the socio-political and governance mechanism drawing from the application of cultural theory and system approach. So basically, this is the city of Kinshasa, the study area. So the estimated population of Kinshasa is about 17 million of the inhabitants. So this rapid growth actually is largely due to rural-urban migration and natural population increase. So rural-urban migration, people are moving from rural areas to Kinshasa seeking for better opportunities and living conditions. So the difference between birth and deaths also contributes to population growth. So the rapid population growth puts a strains on infrastructure and resources in Kinshasa. It also presents challenges related to housing, healthcare, and employment. So urban planning is crucial to manage the growth and its potential consequences. So Kinshasa produced approximately 7,800 tons of municipal waste per day. So this high volume of waste coupled with inadequate waste management infrastructure poses significant challenges to the city, for the city. So the city actually struggles with basic waste collection and sanitary landfilling. A large portion of this waste ends up in streets and rivers due to insufficient waste management, contributing to the spread of diseases, especially during the rainy season. So the World Bank actually projects that Kinshasa's population to reach 20 million by 2030. So this will further increase the amount of solid waste produced in the city. So we have a serious problem, and then you can see the study areas, Kisenso, Ngaliema. So one of the area is the poor neighborhood, the other one is the rich neighborhood. So I selected these areas at least to assess the variation that exists in the distributions of solid waste collections in the city. So this is basically the governance system for solid waste, governance system responsible for solid waste management in the city of Kinshasa. So we've got the central government, we've got the city of Kinshasa, we've got provincial government, we've got city councillors, and we've got altogether 24 municipalities in the city of Kinshasa. And then solid waste is spread out all over the city. Few efforts are being done or made in urban rich neighborhoods. So there is a lack of two-ways interaction between the city councils and municipalities. So it was basically an exhaustive literature review from global, regional, and national levels. We had discussion with the fourfold of the cultural theories, the stakeholders, the hierarchies, the individualists, the egalitarians, and the fatalists. All of them were parts of the interview of the engagement. Then experts actually, it was done through a semi-literature review techniques by using a snowballing approach. So we also had sort of a reflection from best practices through case studies, the Yaoundé and the Uganda case studies. We will see them. And then basically we managed to apply the cultural theory and system approach for developing mechanism to attain environmental justice in the city. So where did it start? The discourse of environmental justice. It's all started or developed from the 1970s in the USA. It was basically in relation to civil rights movements to address growing concerns of citizens regarding unequal distribution of environmental goods and birds. So these new movements has defined the environment as everywhere. Everything where we live, we work, we play, we worship, and go to school, as well as the physical and natural environment. So a similar demands actually have been evident more recently in South Africa. But this demand actually, although positioned not in the civil rights agenda as it was the case in the USA, but it was more directly in issues of environmental quality and justice in the context of South Africa. And basically, it is the majority of the population suffers from injustices in South Africa rather than the minorities. And these things mostly happen in African cities. I don't know why. So from an urban area perspective, environmental injustice seems to be more exacerbated in urban context of the developing countries with poor living in unplanned settlement with little or no access to basic socio-economic services. Why? I don't know. So with an inadequate urban infrastructure that was inherited and retained at independence, and which has remained unmodified to suit the new political, economic, and social realities in many of these countries. The poor, powerless, and voiceless continue to be subjected and to live in deplorable environments where socioeconomic facilities are non-existent. The poor continue to be denied through inadequate urban and planning policies and appropriate healthy living condition or living environment. So the urban development and planning policy in African cities, how do we resist and address this question of urban environmental justice? I don't know why. Maybe you guys will help me to answer all these questions. Are you guys ready to help me to answer all these questions? I don't know, but I need your help and your support. So, fundamental aspect of sustainable development can be considered as the starting point to conceptualize environmental justice suitable for Kinshasa, for Congo. First, the basic need of humanity, food, clothes, shelter, and employment must be met. The other is that the limit to development are not absolute but are imposed by present state of technology and social organization and by their impacts upon environmental resources and upon the biosphere's ability to absorb the effects of human activities. So the first aspect, which is crucial for the DRC, the Congo people, and their environment, should inform the meaning of environmental justice in Congo and in Kinshasa. So equity is at the center of such a concept. It includes the notion of transformation and redress because basic needs cannot be met if there is no transformation. In the sense of addressing the deep fault line that divides human society between the rich and the poor, or redress of the harm that has already been caused, and the cost of which is being borne unequally. This is how I conceptualize environmental justice in the context of a city, a country that has never known peace since its political independence. So solid waste management in the city of Kinshasa, the beautiful, the statement of pride used by the Congolese seem to be a fairy tale for the present generation. Kinshasa is now considered as one of the dirtiest cities on the planet Earth. The poorly managed solid waste system has led to blocked water channels, which are used by the public as waste receptacles. Solid waste pollute the air, spread outbreaks of endemic and epidemic diseases in the city of Kinshasa. Diseases, malaria, polio, cholera, tuberculosis threaten the health of the people of Kinshasa. You can see my pictures there when I was conducting my fieldwork, when I was doing my research. People are suffering, people are dying almost every day as a result of this problem. Some happy, other people are sad in the city of Kinshasa. One of the principles for environmental justice is that public policy be based on mutual respect and justice for all people, free from any forms of discrimination. This principle is evident only on paper and in speeches. Environmental justice is deviating the country's aspiration to achieve the Agenda 2030 and the broad agenda problems in order to improve the living conditions of the poor. This situation has resulted into urban poor residents to live in more closely to potential pollution sources in the city of Kinshasa. The situation is very bad and sad in African cities or sub-Saharan African cities. So the problem with the DRC is political rather than financial. It lies in the lack of political will and resolve among major political actors the lack of political will by politicians and bureaucrats to manage the solid waste and to take into account the need of the poor is a key constraint in their access to environmental justice in the city. The poor in Kinshasa face many and complex barriers that make it difficult for their legal, moral, and political human rights to be respected. So barriers actually to access the environmental justice that the poor face can be dealt with under the political, legal, and exogenous barriers. Reflection from some best practices of case studies. We got the case of Kampala, Uganda, Yaoundé, Cameroon. Kampala with an estimated population of about 1 million of inhabited. Poor solid waste are between the most pressing and challenging environmental problems. The authorities in Kampala resolved to shift their solid waste management activities to the private sectors, CBOs, NGOs, and CSOs, because one single actor cannot achieve successful solid waste management. You will also agree with me that one single actor cannot create or achieve sustainability. So partnerships have increased access to urban poor to basic services such as sanitation and solid waste in Kampala. So Yaoundé, with a population density of about 2 million, it faces the same challenges as many other African countries in terms of solid waste management. So the local municipalities work closely with a service that we call in French Hygiène et Salubrité du Cameroun. NGOs and CBOs all together get involved in the collection of waste in the city. So households are already involved in informal waste management, where poor infrastructure hamper regular waste collection in the city of Yaoundé. So let us analyze the role of stakeholder engagement, adaptation from the cultural theory mechanism. So the essential goal is to address environmental injustice and through system approach and cultural theory, which are called SA and CT, to develop pragmatic policy intervention to redress it. So to do so, I, Serge Kubanza, come to the view that theories of environmental injustice with their origin in the discipline of sociology, in particular the sociology of law, should first be transcribed into the framework of the theory of plural rationalities from anthropology. The theory is sometimes referred to as cultural theory. So my argument is as follows. There are questions in the sociology of law that may lack some answers, which answers might be found by recasting the question of environmental injustice within the framing of the cultural theory, specifically the concerns raised by those who focus on environmental injustice can be transposed into cultural theory's idea of fairness. So cultural theory can then be deployed to diagnose the expected low deliberative quality of governance for environmental justice in the world and in Africa, why not in Congo, accordingly point to option for elevating deliberative quality through specific changes to the structure of governance. So in other words, I seek a prognosis of how to read Kinshasa of environmental injustice in solid waste management. So the cultural theory suggests will always be a contested concept, as is sustainability. Mike Thompson. Because each of the four forms of solidarity has its own idea of fairness, with none of them being reducible to any of the others. We will see. So these ideas of fairness are as follows. The individualist vote is pro-market, a fair outcome is proponent are convinced is one in which those who put most in get most out. Equality of opportunity is therefore the individualist idea of fair process with outcome fairness being the matching of reward to contribution. So the hierarchy's vote is pro-control and is much concerned with order and status. Who has the right to do what and to whom? Distribution should thus be by rank and station, and this idea of fairness then requires that if that orderly distribution is not happening, the hierarchy should step in so as to ensure that each gets the desert appropriate to his or her position within the layered totality. Egalitarian actors are levelers. Absolute parity before, during, and after is their idea of what is equal, of what is fair. People, they insist should start off equal and end up equal. And happiness society, a society where everyone should be happy. This is ideal. Fatalists are those who cannot come up with the entry costs for the market. They find themselves categorized as deviant, underserving poor by the hierarchy, and lack the cohesion and commitment that would enable them to rise up against all sorts of inequality. So what happened from the case studies, adaptation from the cultural theory mechanism? So we got the hierarchies, the individualists, the fatalists, the individualists, the egalitarian. So if by reading the case studies, the urban authorities of Kampala and Yaoundé designed policy program and shifted their solid waste management activities to the private sectors and to NGOs. So basically, the fatalists, they've got no voice, they are negativists, they always criticize everything, they are the community. Then they don't have trust and confidence in the new policy program developed by the hierarchies. They criticize unchanged institutional landscape, self-focused approach of the past, media-focused individual and benefit. Why? The fatalists, they've become a consequence of the hierarchies because the hierarchies within the context of sub-Saharan Africa, they are politicians, they will promise, they don't realize, and then their attitude actually have created a situation whereby the fatalists, they come on pool, the community cannot accept any plan of development that they may come up with. The only solution for them, it is God. We have heard a lot for this country, for this situation, only God can resolve the problem, but not anybody. So the individualists, actually, these are private companies working in the field, limited service only in urban higher income areas, may increase profit, don't care about urban poor areas and higher rate of taxations. They are the ones also who are polluting the environments. So egalitarian, actually, these are the CSOs, the CBOs, the NGOs, they criticize normally their role, if they are working well, should be to define the plot or the cause of the fatalists, but in most cases are corrupted by the individualists, by the hierarchies. So they come with the ideas of hampered by shortage of resources, donor dependencies, central policies favor private companies, more solid waste is needed in our cities. So the practice of solid waste management can be much improved by bringing the important social solidarities of the cultural theory. The hierarchists, decision-making authorities, the individualist market forces, the egalitarian community forces all together. We bring the three actors together. So the arguments and trade-off among the three solidarities are necessary to produce effective and socially acceptable solution. However, like the apathetic resident of Kampala and Yaoundé who sit there waiting to see if solid waste management can be improved or not, the fatalists will have no or limited voices and responses to resolve the challenges in the contemporary socio-political scenario. Therefore, on the contested terrain of solid waste management, basically three solidarities such as hierarchy, individual, and egalitarian have a say in developing the policy measures. Three, because the fatalist solidarity has no voice. If it had, it would not be fatalistic. So that's why we are excluding them, but at least their voices can be represented through their representative, the egalitarian. So these are another mathematical model algo, applying them qualitatively, the cultural theory perspective, to attain environmental justice in solid waste management in Kinshasa. And then we've got a non-provincial, we've got two axes, we've got responsiveness and we've got participation, the vertical, horizontal, and the curve is going up there. We want to reach or to achieve environmental justice, sustainability, democracy, whatever the case may be, depending in the context of your study. So current situation in Kinshasa, close hegemony, as can be seen from the figure there, means there is neither access nor responsiveness. One voice draws out the other two. Who's got voice? The hierarchies in sub-Saharan Africa want to do everything. They want to exclude the other actors, the other stakeholders. So that is why we can't even talk about the concept of sustainability. So currently in Kinshasa, only two voices, the hierarchical and the individualists, enjoy access. So environmental justice means that access and responsiveness are facilitated. So as can be seen, each gradation along the two axes, the vertical and the horizontal of participation and responsiveness marks the addition of another voice to the debate. So the more we are including, the other actors, the three other actors to participate to decision-making processes, the more we are taking action, the more the country can move away from the current scenario to the second stage of whatever the case may be, democracy, development, social justice, environmental justice, or peace. So this is a mechanism to improve environmental justice in solid waste management in Kinshasa. So all stakeholders must come together. Okay, the three stakeholders of the cultural theory must come together, taking into account the environmental condition, economic condition, social condition, technological conditions, and then formulating a sort of policies and plannings. After that, we have to implement the policies, which will lead us to optimal management of solid waste in the cities. It will lead us to environmental justice and sustainability. Then we can have city as force for good in the environment. So this is the view of the fatalists. How do they view the issues of waste management in the cities? The fatalists, the community. Okay, themselves, the people and urban function produce waste due to lack of no appropriate disposal system, non-implementation of laws and regulations, lack of skill of personnel. These wastes are disposed in poor suburbs, water courses, creating pollution and environmental problems, leading to environmental injustice, affecting the plight of the people themselves. They propose enforcement of rules and regulations by governing authorities, employment of skills, personnel and resources, participation of NGOs and CBOs. These are their propositions so that we can create an appropriate disposal mechanism, sharing of responsibilities of solid waste loads, and equitable disposal system, which will reduce in disposal in poor suburbs and water courses, creating environmental justice, improving the living condition of the poor. So this is the view of the hierarchist. Okay, this is the view of the hierarchies, the municipal authorities, poor implementation. There is poor implementation of regulation, apathetic attitude of governance system, lack of funding for solid waste with the municipalities, lack of technology and skills, pressure from elites and rich neighborhoods. So the best solution can be encouragement to community level, solid waste treatment, implementation of rules and regulations, participation of stakeholders in solid waste. They have to open the system so we can create sort of sustainable solid waste management in the cities. And we have the individualist views. They view, available technologies and sufficient funds, levying of taxes, everything, procurement of technologies, everything will help actually to sort out the issues of solid waste management in the cities. So we've got the egalitarian, non-stakeholders or community and NGOs, CBOs participation in the current scenario, no coordination among agencies, insufficiencies of legislation, inadequate disposal management system, leading to disposal in poor suburbs and water courses, creating pollution and environmental degradation, leading to environmental injustice in the cities. What can be done? We need private-public partnership and stakeholders' participation, rehabilitations of solid waste disposal infrastructures, transformation of solid waste to resources, creation of awareness about tradition, integration of culture with environment, which will improve the disposal in poor suburbs and water sources, creating a viable environment to live. So here, let us bring all of them together. We need to bring all our actors together. Okay, settlement and people produce waste due to lack of appropriate and equitable policy for solid waste disposal. There is inappropriate solid waste disposal, suffering of poor suburbs, leading to environmental justice and creating poor quality of environment. What can be done? Then participation of NGOs and other community-based organizations, the private sectors, the municipalities, the fourfold of the culture theory need to come together in the form of participatory solid waste governance, can create solid waste and environmental policy, leading to equitable distribution of responsibility in solid waste management and environmental loads, which will create feasible disposal system in the city. It will reduce in waste disposal in poor suburb, creating environmental justice, basically quality of the environment, and we can have the green space in the city. So collaboration also, the other diagram, collaboration will work in the ways that, as shown on the figure, people and industry in general are responsible for solid waste production, which requires an appropriate disposal system. The industry or private companies will enable the availability of feasible products and services which people and municipality will buy and use. In return, the industry and individualist actors will gain business for their companies and will make profit or benefit. So the municipality, with the aid of appropriate products and services, together with the help of NGOs and CBOs, the egalitarian actors will assist in developing an appropriate and efficient solid waste management system in the city of Kinshasa. There we go. We have arrived. So solid waste management in Congolese cities is a duty entrusted to public funded municipal authorities. It tends to be restricted to wealthy and rich neighborhoods. Poor and deprived neighborhoods usually tend to receive no or little services. This is an inequality that has only recently begun to be recognized as an injustice between the rich and the poor. So environmental justice in solid waste management is a challenge in the city of Kinshasa. Regular solid waste management is crucial for poor people to live that they have reason to value and for society to ensure justice. So the right to access environmental justice is a recognized priority for the residents of low-income neighborhood in Kinshasa. So a politico-cultural mechanism on remedying solid waste management inequities could enable changes that will address environmental justice in Kinshasa. So approach involving interaction among the three social solidarities will increase the possibility of evolving acceptable policy options for the society as against the current situation that only favor one group within the community and localize their solid waste burden onto the poor. Such a solution will go directly against the prevailing notions that some happy, others sad with respect to environmental justice in solid waste management in the city of Kinshasa. Thank you so much for paying attention, for listening to me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kubanza, for such a comprehensive and passionate exposure of the situation of solid waste in Kinshasa. We have one question in the box, and I was just wondering if the person wants to read it out or I can do it for them. I'll give maybe 2 seconds. If the person wants to voice it, you are free to unmute. Otherwise, I will go ahead and read the question.
Must I stop sharing?
It's up to you, but yeah, maybe okay to stop sharing unless there is a question that you need to go to a slide. So I'll go ahead and ask the question from the attendee is like, given the cultural theory given that the cultural theory describes 4 mutual dependent but conflicting worldviews, is there a conceptual space for a 5th orientation, the one that is intentionally reflexive and seeks to mediate and balance these worldviews rather than embodying one? And would proposing such integrative stance undermine cultural theory's foundational commitment to irreducible pluralism? Or could it offer a useful expansion for addressing complex multi-stakeholder governance challenges? So that's maybe 2 questions combined, please.
The question is quite long. Can you summarize it, actually?
Yes, it's the person, from my understanding, is asking, since you have those 4 dimensions of the cultural theory, if there is a way to, because they are also opposite, if there is a way to find a 5th dimension that integrates the views of all of them, of the four? And if there is such a thing, if it's possible to do that, or it goes directly in conflict of the cultural theory if we try to find a fifth dimension. So is it possible to do that, to expand, or it's really conflicting with the foundational principles of the city?
Yeah, I think it's conflicting. Yeah, I'm not seeing how can we include the fifth category or solidarity actually to resolve the problems. With the fourfold, actually can see I've been in most cases receiving comment as to why the fatalistic view are excluded already. It is already a problem, but that is not me. It is the cultural theory which was developed by Mary Douglas. So in principles, yes, but practically it is difficult. This is what can be my answer. Practically, it's difficult. So the most important we can do is to create awareness among the actors, and most importantly, the hierarchies, because they are the one excluding, the other actors. So that's why we are having sort of unsustainable waste management in the cities, creating injustices in the city. So I did not get very well the question since it was too long, but I hope I've managed to answer it in one way or the other.
Okay, so maybe I will invite the person to expand or to follow up if they need further clarification. And I don't know if it's really connected with this question, but I was wondering if the specific context of conflict in DRC or like in Congo, if that, if that exacerbates any of the dimensions, especially the fatalists, if the let's say the poor communities, I would use that word, they perceive the environment even in a much more exacerbated stance than if you analyze the poor communities in Uganda and Cameroon. So I was wondering if there is an influence of the lack of peace that informs also how each of the groups move around or perceive waste.
Yeah, definitely. The conflict has been there for many years, and it has negative effects on the peoples, and the people have become fatalistic also because of the lack of peace. When there is no peace, there are always conflicts. People are crying every day. Their perception also changed. So they can't trust again the hierarchies, because they are the ones who are supposed to create peace in the country. So that has contributed a lot. And the other issues also, as you can be seen, these people are shifting from one solidarity to another solidarity when their interests are not met. So basically, they are representative, the egalitarian, their role when they operate very well, it is to defend or to represent the communities. But in most cases, as I was saying, if their interests are not met, they can shift from one solidarity, from being a member of the egalitarian, to become part of the government, part of the hierarchies. And in most cases, they are even corrupted. This is what is killing our context, actually, corruptions. And then even the conflict, the war, lack of peace, it is a manipulations. Okay, it is a manipulations, and in most cases, actually, are these political actors. Okay, they are corrupted by international community, and the people are the ones suffering. So it has contributed negatively, and that is why the people have become fatalistic. The only solution for them, it is coming from above. Only God can sort out, can resolve the problems. So whatever any plan of development that the government may come up with, they will not accept. So it is a serious problem. It is a serious problem. Thanks so much, Letitia. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you did. And I have another question. I was wondering if in your study the informal sector is included, and if you can, if it's possible, because our time is not so long. So what is the role of the informal sector in a city like Kinshasa, and if you included in your study, and where would you put in your dimension, like where is the position of the informal sector?
Yeah, basically, I will include them in the egalitarian. They can be part of the egalitarian because, as can be seen in most cases, these are the NGOs who are collecting the waste where the government have failed.
Mm.
Where the government have failed, NGOs and these informal waste pickers are the one collecting the waste in the cities, but unfortunately, they've not been given sort of a platform where they can operate effectively. So I would include them as part, I can put them as part of the egalitarian solidarity. So they are the one actually, doing the work in African cities, not only in Kinshasa and Congo, in other African cities as well. It is the egalitarian because the hierarchies have failed. They can't do anything, just dictatorship. They are there to steal money, the people monies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would agree with you, but then my question was also based on the fact that they are also having some kind of profit. So it's kind of, they oscillate between egalitarian and individualist in some regards. But let me go to a question from the audience they're asking if DRC have acts and policies in place, such as the Waste Management Act in South Africa.
Yes, as I said in one of my slides, the problem is not financial. What policies are there? The only issues are the implementation, the political will. Okay, so in most cases, the problem we are having not only in the DRC, in Africa, or Sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, it is the culture of the people, mentality of the people. Okay, the policies are there, full of them, plenty of them. That's why this is what they do. They sit there, not developing all these policies, and most of these policies, are cut and paste. These policies, some of them are not even coming from their mind, copying them from the internet ABC. But the implementation is what causing problem.
Okay. I believe the question is answered. Maybe if we don't have another from the audience, I have another question. I was also wondering, you mentioned that the poor communities are the sad part of your analysis. How would you position the richer communities who have access to the waste management services? So how can we position them? Are they happy and ignorant that things are happening, that injustices are happening? Are they happy and also happy with the services and disregarding, I will not use happy, but they, let's say, neglect the fact that they are parts of the city, they're underserved? So how would you position the richer communities who have access to waste?
Thank you so much. That's a good question. This richest community, basically, let me first tell you that the bourgeoisie as a class does not exist in the country, in the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't have people with the means of production for them to become bourgeois.
Mm-hmm.
So in most cases, these richest communities are the politicians themselves. Okay. When you see a politician rich, is he a bourgeois? How has he become a bourgeois? Does he have the means of production? Does he have workers? Does he pay them salaries? But in rich communities, these are the politicians themselves. Mm. And our rich or bourgeois in Congo are musicians and politicians. What do they do to become rich? So they make sure that their environment is clean, it is proper, there is electricity, there is water, because they are the one governing the countries. So the other, they've got no say. They are powerless, but they are the most powerful members of the community, of the society. What the other people can say, so that's what I'm saying, some other people happy, others sad. It's like in the same country, other people are the children of God, others the children of Satan. This is what is happening in most of these African countries. It is too sad, but it is the reality.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe last question, is your study replicable to other cities in Africa, and what a researcher would need to take care if we wanted to replicate such kind of study? Not only Africa, but in developing world? Any sort of advice?
Not only developing world. These models, the model are standard. Okay, these are standard. Even Japan fits itself here.
Okay.
All the countries of the world, depending if Congo, it is here in the zero-in currency scenario, dictatorship. Mm. Okay, South Africa may be maybe the first stage, but no country is in the ideal scenario. Oh, let's say maybe Japan because of higher technologies, ABC, but I can't also put them there. Okay, so this model, the cultural theories, the approach, the system approach, all the models that have been developing are standards. Any countries of the world, African countries, developed or undeveloped countries, can apply my models, and these models are quite new. I'm not sure that we've been using them and applying them basically within the context of Africa. And if our government authorities can buy these ideas, these models, then we can start seeing changes, in the management, in the developments of our cities and countries. Unfortunately, they don't listen to us. Have I answered your question, Leticia?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kubanza. And I believe we do not have further questions from the audience. I will really thank your time and availability to share with us your findings and your study on solid waste management in Congo, in DRC. And I thank the audience, the participants of the audience, the questions. And yes, I will welcome all to visit our pages, NERPS pages, social media, to get more updates, and in the future also get access to this session. And thank you again to all, and especially a big thanks to Dr. Kubanza for being with us today. And we will see you next time.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Thank you.